Administration officials over the weekend were saying that what they want from North Korea is what they call full denuclearization, not just some steps toward denuclearization in order to lift those sanctions. So we'll see where that goes. But the president returning to Washington last night after a week in Palm Beach, Florida, the president's focused very much on North Korea now after those positive statements that you mentioned from the North Korean side on suspension of those tests. That's some progress. The president now hoping to capitalize on that moving forward. A couple of tweets over the weekend to bring you up to speed on. The first one, the president simply saluting the North Koreans for what they've said here. A message from Kim Jong-un. North Korea will stop nuclear tests and launches of intercontinental ballistic missiles. Also will shut down a nuclear test site in the country's northern side to prove the vow to suspend nuclear tests. Progress being made for all.
The world economy will continue to grow at a relatively high pace. But as I said, there are a number of potential risks. One of them is, of course, protectionism. Another is unexpectedly rapid tightening of monetary conditions in some countries, and various geopolitical risks in North Korea or in the Middle East. So there are several downside risks faced by the world economy, but I hope none of them realize affecting the world economy in the next 2 years.
Canada, the United States, and Mexico trade negotiators set to meet again in Washington this week amid this new push to reach a quick NAFTA agreement. The president took to Twitter this morning saying that Mexico, whose laws on immigration are very tough, he said, must stop people from going through Mexico and into the U.S. We may make this a condition of the new NAFTA agreement. Our country cannot accept what is happening. Also, we must get wall funding fast.
He's convinced that NAFTA must go ahead in the benefit of the United States. So that's going to be the outcome. A better NAFTA approved by his administration and then Congress, and it will be there for the next 25 years benefiting Canada, United States, and Mexico. There is only winners, not zero-sum like Trump pretends to tell the people, that one wins and the other one loses. That's false. That doesn't happen in trading. The building of a wall is a stupidity out of the mind of Trump. That wall is no purpose, not positive purpose. It's just isolating the United States from the rest of the world.
Let's talk about artificial intelligence for just a minute, because when you were talking earlier, I was reminded that a lot of AI is powered by big data. And what is big data? Well, it's needing to aggregate all of our personal information, which now there's a lot of backlash about. So is privacy a threat to big data and a threat to AI? Is there any way that all of that can coexist?
It's an enormous threat, and I think the way that one has to think about it is in the following way. When somebody gives you free software, or somebody gives you something free in general, you the consumer, I think you have to ask yourself, am I the customer? And when I'm a customer, I have rights. So think about, for example, when you buy a car, right? You give over money. Ford gives you a great vehicle, but they also give you a warranty. There are laws that protect you, et cetera, et cetera. But then if you actually don't pay anything, I think we have to be really open to the idea that maybe we are actually not the customer, but we are actually part of the product itself.
Yeah.
And in that context, I suspect what happens is that governments will have to get more involved so that they create the proper guardrails. They think of the welfare of citizens, and then they create laws and regulations that allow us to think about data privacy in a different way.
Certainly the bears are out today. The Dow plunging 500 points, as you see on your screen, 502. Names like Caterpillar and 3M leading the Dow lower. This after Caterpillar upped its guidance by 24%. How are these earnings being digested? The NASDAQ 100 getting slammed because of Alphabet and Amazon.
The Iranians say they'll restart their nuclear program if the deal
We'll find out. You'll find out about that.
Are you concerned
It won't
about
be
that?
so easy for them to restart.
Mr. President, are you...
They're not going to be restarting anything. They restart it, they're going to have big problems, bigger than they've ever had before. And you can mark it down. They restart their nuclear program, they will have bigger problems than they have ever had before. Thank you very much, everybody.
Mr. President, Please allow me to go back to a number of issues which are fundamental for not only our relationship but beyond. The first topic is Iran. You said, once again in front of the press, what your position was during the campaign, and as well as the President of the United States. It's not a mystery. We did not have the same starting positions, stances, and neither you nor I have a habit of changing our stances or going with the wind. That being said, I can say that we've had a very frank discussion on that, just the two of us. You consider that the Iranian deal, the JCPOA, the one negotiated in 2015 with Iran, is a bad deal. For a number of months, I've been saying that this was not a sufficient deal, but that it enabled us, at least until 2025, to have some control over their nuclear activities. We therefore wish from now on to work on a new deal with Iran.
President's tweeting about his meeting with Tim Cook later on this afternoon, says, looking forward to my meeting with Tim Cook of Apple. We'll be talking about many things, including how the U.S. has been treated unfairly for many years by many countries on trade.
Tim Cook leaving the southwest gate of the White House, which indicates he was in the White House already today, and then walking across the street to the U.S. Trade Representative's office. So there you see Tim Cook along with his, what we're told is a sizable entourage, just popping over across the street to meet with the U.S. Trade Representative. We also know from Canadian media that some Canadian members of the Canadian delegation are in the U.S. Trade Representative's office now as well. So perhaps there is an ongoing discussion of NAFTA taking place. Not clear if that is the same meeting that Tim Cook is in, but clearly there you see the CEO of Apple, one of the world's most prominent companies, just going for a stroll in downtown Washington, D.C.
Choppy session on the close here. Dow at the highs this afternoon briefly was up more than 100 points, gave that all up, and then was able to reclaim about 58, as you heard on the bell there, to 24.82. That's a 0.25% increase for the blue chips. The S&P also managed about a 5-point gain to 26.39 today, but not the case with the Russell and the NASDAQ. Those closed lower. The NASDAQ just by a point or so, just above 7,003. And the Russell 2000 down about nearly 3 points to 1550 for the small caps there today. Interestingly, the dollar strengthened by about half a point. Not major moves in interest rates, but that 10-year still over 3% or so. The major focus now is going to be on earnings and in particular on Facebook's results. We have
gold under pressure and falling to a one-month low, even as stocks stay in the red. Jeff, gold now negative for its fourth session in 5. What's the next move here?
Well, Eric, I think we see a short-term bounce. And let's cite the reasons why we've seen the lower move in gold. There's been geopolitical tensions easing. It's been a stronger dollar. It's also been the move higher in Treasury yields. But those three reasons should have pummeled gold, should have pushed it to the lower end of the range, under $1,300. It hasn't, and that's why I think it goes higher.
Scott Nations, you've brought along a chart today. Walk us through the key levels here.
Yeah. Well, as you can see, the important level to the upside is 1360. Gold tried to get above that level 4 different times since the middle of January. It hasn't been able to. Jeff says that if gold really gets pummeled, it's going to be below $1,300. I think that's only a matter of time. Below there, 1250 is the next stop.
Rear Admiral Ronnie Jackson withdrawing from his nomination to be the new head of the Department of Veteran Affairs. Now, Ronnie Jackson had come under fire over accusations that he had liberally dispensed medications, perhaps even been intoxicated while on the job. In a statement, Jackson says that those allegations are completely false and fabricated, and that he did not expect to have to dignify baseless and anonymous attacks on his character and integrity. He said that he is regretfully withdrawing his nomination, saying that those accusations have become a distraction for the president and for the department. Again, Ronnie Jackson withdrawing as the nominee for the Department of Veteran Affairs.
Are you going to China, and what do you want to come home with?
I am going to China, and hard to know about coming home, but these are serious negotiations. The president has asked us to go over there. As you know, we have a lot of disputes with China, unfair trading practices, illegal trading practices, technology-related issues, and technology theft. They've got barriers and tariffs. We'd like to have them lower them. We'd like to have some market openings. Better to have a talk, one-on-one discussion, if you will, although there'll be several Chinese officials. I have high hopes for this. You know me, I'm always the optimist about this. President Trump expressed some optimism the other day at the press conference with President Macron. So we'll see, Carl. We'll see. It's going to cover a broad area. All the disputes will be discussed.
Let's talk about Facebook now. Those shares seeing the best day in 2 years following that blowout earnings report. Let's kick it around. What do you guys think? I mean, the stock, when it was 149 bucks, I kept saying, isn't that, don't you feel like that's the low?
Well, it was in a trading range.
I was getting a lot of pushback.
Not here.
No.
I bought with you. I know you can't buy an individual stock, so I realize that. But if you could have, you would have. And I pounded the table for it, bought it
149 and change.
So it was oversold.
Popped into the 170s, pulled back, and everybody said, oh, you know, should you be selling it here? Even smart guys like Jeff Gundlach saying, you know, short this stock. Nope. Buy this stock.
Here's Jim Cramer from this morning. I just love what he had to say about it. We'll kick it around the other side.
The PE here for Facebook is 18. This stock may arguably be, are you ready, Ski Daddy?
I know what you're
the
gonna say,
cheapest stock in the S&P 500.
You know when Jim breaks out to Ski Daddy, he's got something.
Well, that's something big.
Something big.
Cheapest stock in the S&P with
S&P.
49% revenue growth, 63% profit growth. John did a great job in buying the stock at 150. We all got the sense that, yes, you would have wanted to buy it as well. Surratt the other day defended the stock. He is long the stock. He did a great job at that as well. We, myself included, did not do as good of a job. But I think the thing that stands out to me when you talk about advertisers staying, think about the privacy scandal and think about now Facebook is going to have to spend on the privacy scandal. Well, they told you yesterday, they answered the question. Not only will the advertisers be here with us, but we have the capital to spend whatever we need to do to address the next privacy issues.
It's a very, very dramatic moment here on the Korean Peninsula. After the summit, the leaders of the two Koreas, Moon Jae-in of South Korea and North Korea's Kim Jong-un, issued a joint statement saying that they would vow to end the Korean War. There were also some other interesting highlights in that joint declaration. They said they want to move to a peace regime, set up a liaison office. They agreed to phased disarmament, and also the one that's getting the most attention, I'm sure, in Washington, is the total disarmament or total denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula.
Amazon posting a big beat on all fronts. Joining us now to break down the numbers, Bob Durbel. He's Senior Managing Director and Retail Analyst at Guggenheim. We got a request for a question. When does it become too expensive for Prime? What is it, $118 now?
It's going from $99 to $119.
Why don't they go to $319?
Yeah, I mean, I think gradually, I think the poster child for this type of a fee increase is Costco historically. You know, covered.
Yeah, hopefully not Netflix.
Right, and I just think, you know, gradually is the way to do it, and, you know.
Is 20% gradual?
I mean, it's 20%, but
4 years.
4 years, right?
It's not that big.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the point that Brian made on the call essentially was they've added, you know, from 20 million to 100 million in terms of available for Prime. You think about all the video content, the music.
Look, it's not going to scare me off.
No,
but they've just trumpeted the 100 million number.
Yeah, no, and you know, and the best part about it from an analytical perspective was the results were that good before they told us that they were going to bring in another, you know, $2 billion, you know, over the next 12 months. And I see very little, you know, attrition. It just feels like the value that Amazon brings to the consumer, you know, is very clear.
We have to learn as a big country, as an economically successful country, as the president says, you're economically successful, but militarily and politically you don't wish to do so much. We have to learn to assume our role, and there are differences of opinion. We as friends can discuss that openly.
Thank you, Chancellor. We need a reciprocal relationship, which we don't have. The United States right now has a trade deficit with the European Union of $151 billion. And the Chancellor and I have discussed it today at length, and we're working on it, and we want to make it more fair, and the Chancellor wants to make it more fair. Same thing with NATO. We have a far greater burden than we should have. Other countries should be paying more. And I'm not saying Germany alone. Other countries should be paying more. I mean, we're protecting Europe, and yet we pay by far more than anybody else. And NATO is wonderful, but it helps Europe more than it helps us. And why are we paying a vast majority of the costs? So we're working on those things. It's been unfair. And I don't blame the Chancellor, and I don't blame Germany. I don't even blame the European Union. I blame the people that preceded me for allowing this to happen. There's no way we should have a trade deficit of $151 billion. So we're going to make it reciprocal. We're going to make it a much more fair situation. And I think in the end, everybody's going to be very happy. I think both countries, I view this as many countries, but looking at it as one bloc, will really benefit.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.